Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fallout Season 2 review series. I am the Abomination, Trasnail, and I'm joined by...
Hey, my name is Dilmas.
Yes, we are back after a little lengthy break here. We did preference this in the multiple casts and the first episode of Fallout, saying, "Hey, we don't know when these are going to be." One dropped on Christmas Eve, one drops on New Year's Eve. I wonder how that
hmm
did for their ratings. I want because I feel like we've talked about this before. I feel there is some people like us that might just binge it, but then I feel like I've done this with multiple streaming shows, aka like recently, like Wednesday season 2, that eventually just builds up, and you go, I don't know when I'm gonna get back to that, and you maybe never do,
Yeah.
right? So I get the strategy if you're a Stranger Things. I don't know about Fallout, but who knows? I would love to see, and I would love to see what Dilma saw of these episodes. But before we get into that, we're gonna do, um, I I don't know. I was gonna say we're gonna do non-spoilers. We're not gonna go
Mm,
episode by episode. We're just gonna throw this all together.
yeah.
I guess we'll give non-spoilers for this week, but I think we'll just give a general overall as far as like what we've thought about these last few episodes, and then we'll give you a break just in case you haven't. But yeah, it's kind of a weird one. But now, from now on until the finale, for the foreseeable future, unless something happens, we should be back to being weekly. No more batches, no more big drops or anything like that. But yeah, check out the feeds. Lots of good stuff. Even though it is the new year, somehow this year, lots of news dropping, lots of trailers dropping. We talk tomorrow. We have lots of fun casts as well. I kind of thought about this when I was sharing the side quest episode today. I feel like the 2 months always in my head now are August because we got GV Day, and then November because Extra Life. But I feel January for us is very underrated because we got all like the previews, the predictions, and
hmm
the drafts. Like
Yep.
it's a fun time. Like when I look at the
Golden
calendar, I'm like,
Geeks.
oh yeah, these are all Golden Geeks. Like these are all super fun ones, and I feel like again down below first link is a survey. Lots of people bring up the drafts and golden geeks and stuff, so it's like okay, I'm very excited for the next few weeks here, so it's gonna be a good time. So there's already been good stuff that come out. We did the video game preview this Monday. I guess it drops on the Tuesday, but still this week it's out there on the feeds. Look out for that. We do a whole look from today, January, to the foreseeable future, maybe even possibly 2027, depending on some of these games, right?
Likely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very fun one. And then tomorrow, and then sometime later on the week on the feed, we're doing the movie version of that. And then yeah, like Dylan said, Golden Geeks is coming up. Drafts. We got a Bone Temple review. I think and then for TV show wise, I think Kirkland and Taylor are doing Game of Thrones. I will do that if Taylor's not available. I haven't been jiving with these previews of this new show, Dylan, so I don't know where I am. But with the last show, I was like that, and then I watched it and I was all in. So I think luckily that's when Taylor's gonna get into some rotation of being back. So
Nice.
that's the only other TV show happening. But yeah, we'll be back for Fallout, and yeah, if you like listening to this, there is Patreon, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Dylan Muss, we have three
hmm
episodes to catch on. Obviously, we watched the first one a few weeks ago. I feel like we're both kind of like positive to lukewarm. Like, not, I don't think we loved it, but I don't think we
Yeah.
also like disliked it or anything like that. So now, after you've had, roughly 3 more hours of season 2 of Fallout, where are you now?
I think I'm still in a similar lukewarmy kind of place, and maybe I don't think I'm down on it yet, but I'm getting a vibe that I'm going to be quite down on the end of the season, just based on two things in particular. One that happens in this episode, and one thing from
Oh,
episode 3 that
oh, okay.
I thought was interesting, but it seems like maybe we're just like skipped past that now. We're not going to come back to that. I guess insane in a very light, spoilery kind of way. So obviously, as a big Fallout New Vegas fan, I've been looking forward to the season, and it's fun every time there's reference to something from those games, or the credits for episode 4, for example, or one of the songs that's like in the radio in that game, right? So I'm very nostalgic for a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
They're taking it a different route. They're not retelling the New Vegas story. It's just the New Vegas setting. But there are a couple things that are like direct ties. Like in episode 3, we go to Kaiser's Legion. We have a whole thing there.
Oh, okay.
But the fact that we didn't revisit that all this episode makes me think that that was all we're going to get for that in this whole season. What do you think about that, for example?
I was kind of hoping, like, the only reason I have to think not is because, like, it's not a big spoiler, but Macaulay Culkin was there, right? So to me, it just feels like if that's the last that we see of that, I know there's one other character that we had like a, let's just say 2 episode run with, but that was like a big definitive ending. Like, okay, I can
Yeah.
see it was kind of fun to have him for 2 episodes, and then boom, big ending. We know that's written off, right? Where it just what Macaulay Culkin maybe just dies off screen. That feels kind of odd. So that's why I feel like that has to come back, in my opinion, at some point, whether it's
Yeah.
next year or not. But I feel like even this year we could revisit it. But I'm not 100% obviously.
Yeah.
So
So I think that's partially why I'm a little uncertain, because if like that's all we get, like Kaiser's Legion's a huge faction from the game. It's kind of one of the ending routes you can go through. There's a lot that happens there, and it's very different than what they did in episode 3. But I like that, even just having that similarities to it. And if that's like all we get from that, I will be a little bit disappointed. Obviously, bringing in my like preconceptions from the games and just certain things. And in this episode, for example, I guess in a light spoiler way, I can just say that we finally get to the strip, and it's kind of not what I was hoping for. I'll put it that way. So, yeah, I think overall, like, there's definitely some good things. In particular, I actually did really enjoy episode 2. I thought there was a lot of fun things happening in there. Good journey for our, two main leads. If I mean, this show is kind of an ensemble, but if there is the two main leads, it being Lucy and Walton Goggins. Cooper Howard's his character name. I always want to interchange. I want to call her Lucy, and then I want to call him Walton, which I know is confusing to use one actor, one character name. And I'm liking some of the stuff that we got with Lucy's brother and that storyline. That's fun for me so far. I think the drag for me in this season so far is definitely turning out to be the Brotherhood of Steel. In this episode, we got a lot of it, and I just don't find it that compelling. And I think a lot of the characters there are pretty dry. And even the one that's leading it, Titus, is like, I don't know if it's like an actor choice, a directional choice, a writing choice, but he's just a blank wall. And it just
he was your favorite last season too, I remember. He was ranked pretty low for you, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I just don't care about him at all. And I think Lucy as a character was able to pull a lot of interesting stuff out of him. And obviously they're split up this season thus far. I think they will reconnect at some point, obviously, especially with some stuff in episode 4. Maybe we're leading there, but yeah, I think so far I'm feeling kind of mid on this season, which is crazy because is it an 8-episode run? Are we already halfway through?
I'll find out. I believe it is. I think so. Let me do a little quick search here. But yeah, if we're halfway through, it could be 10. There's a couple tenors in the Amazon sphere, but so yeah, they got all the cast listed at 16, so it must be an 8 and 8. So yeah, we're halfway through, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm similar to you, maybe like a bit higher, but not like too much higher. I feel like it's exactly where I was with episode 1, where I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it, but it's not must-see TV. And I feel like there is a sentiment right now that it is a step down below season 1, and I still want to see how I feel about that. I guess even I feel like when I started Fallout season 1 halfway point, I didn't feel like kind of a lull, but at the same point we did binge it, right? So all those questions, even things like the pod people or the shelter people, like we moved through that quick. I feel like faster because it's not weekly. We just watched at our own pace and kind of got the answers and moved along, right? So we'll have to see. I think there's a general sense of not as good. And I guess the other point too, I will bring up that even though it's based on a game, Fallout season 1 gets the benefit of the introduction of the world, right? And I feel like that's where a lot of movies, TV shows, games, that's a positive they do have, because if you like that world and it's all about, oh, the retelling this, or what a ghoul is, what a Pip-Boy is, like the first time you see the armor, it's just there's a lot of moments where now it's like, okay, we're in this world. So I agree with everybody. Yeah, Lucy and the ghoul, like that's good times, but I feel like right now it's just good times, like not like that's about it. And like that, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing, but there was something that happened in episode 2, which we'll talk about with Walton Goggins' character, and we never really went back to. It was something that I thought was really interesting because I extremely disliked it for the character doing it, but we haven't touched upon it too much yet. So I want there to be a bit more of emotional core. And now that you said that is halfway, that's a little scary for me, but I know they're planning. I think season 3 is already greenlit or whatnot, so I feel like they're doing a big slow burn. I will say I actually am enjoying the Brotherhood of Steel stuff, not all of it, but I don't. I'm not down on Titus as much as you are, and I think there's some aspects, especially in this episode, I will bring up now, but in spoilers I will, that I'm liking the idea of the Commonwealth and the Brotherhood and the Civil War aspect and how Titus is kind of dealing with that. I feel like the first episode he was in episode 2, I guess spoil that. They definitely like just muted him, like because he was kind of like a goofy, gullible sort of character, but he was like hardened by the war and he's been through stuff. I'm happy it seems like now we're starting to lose that, because that character, that doesn't really interest me at all. So I was worried the whole season was going to be, oh, he's like that until he bumps into Lucy again. And I like that already last week and this week more so. They're starting to make him make some choices. And I think what they do with this character in this episode opens up for some exciting possibilities. But I think there's some very dumb kind of plot jumps as far as, I don't know. It's tough with this show, right? Because it is tongue-in-cheek and it is humorous, but at the same time they want drama in there. So sometimes I don't think the show bounces it the right amount. I feel like at least season one, I feel like it balanced it out where there's, I'll just say, a character in a disguise this episode. I think they said that. Oh, they said
Yeah.
that last week, where it just feels like this is very easy. It just feels like no one's asking to see his face, no one's questioning why this guy. And if that was a point in this episode that was a contention of how things were revealed, I'd go okay. But it really is nothing other than just a joke, and I don't know. It's just kind of odd. And then I think I'm with everybody else that all the other storylines right now, nothing's really doing it for me. I guess the positive I can say is the flashback Walton Goggins, Lucy's brother, and then the actual shelter people, like the 31, 32 people. So far, those have been pretty minimal, like the scenes they've been in and whatnot. So I think that's something where it hasn't been bugging me that much. Like we haven't seen Lucy's brother, like we saw in episode 2 them get out of there, and then we didn't see them for a whole episode. And then this week we'll get into, I think it was like a scene or two, like not even. So at the end of the day, I don't care so much about those storylines right now. They haven't made me invested, but at the same time they're not taking up a bunch of screen time, so I'm not mad about that. So I'm still enjoying it, but it hasn't become kind of must watch. We're even season 1 with being a binge, I still was excited to get to the next episode and the next episode. But maybe that'll change because I feel like this episode kind of multiple ways ended in a intriguing route for multiple characters. I feel like they did a good job of, okay, it's halfway point. Let's get people reinvested if they're not, So
Absolutely.
yeah. Anything else? Non-spoilers?
No, I don't think so.
No. What I was gonna say, because you mentioned a few of them, have you felt that since because episode 1 you felt there was a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks, other than like actual locations, have you been feeling that a lot still at the show, or do you think it's kind of just a bit here and there?
Yeah, no, they're definitely doing a lot of stuff. I mean,
Nice.
the big 3 like factions in New Vegas would be like the NCR, Kaiser's Legion, and Mr. House, and like the Strip in general, like that crew. So like we've already touched on those 3 in a big way, and so different episodes going to the Sunset Sarsaparilla factory like for an episode there was fun. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of. It's not like direct characters or direct callbacks, more just like places and things. But definitely it is pretty satisfying. Even going to the Strip, seeing even though we haven't gone in a lot of these buildings yet, just seeing a lot of the names of them and stuff. There's a lot of familiar stuff going on.
Okay, nice. So, all right, we will take an ad break, and then we'll get into full spoilers for obviously 2 and 3, but more specifically episode 4, and we'll be right back. And if you didn't want any of those pesky ads, the best way to listen to Geek First is the second link, Patreon. There's a bevy of tiers. I'm not going to name them. Just even go look at them. For a second, click on it, look at the tiers. We got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Bunch of them have phase 2 and up is all ad free in our entire catalog, and then after that is retrospective poll voting or behind the scenes stuff, or more importantly, each episode has a number of tiers or a number of episodes, including the Patreon produced tier where you get over 30 episodes this year exclusive over there, and then every episode is ad free because I did see it. We will probably do like an episode kind of recounting our survey. If people don't know, phase 2, that is tier, because someone said you should add that to Patreon. On phase 2 and up, every episode we put there is ad free, and there's early episodes, so it's all there. But yeah, just we would appreciate a good gander over there. We work very hard. We had a good year last year, so we thank everyone that supports us there. We thank everyone that's keeping with us or up in their tiers, and I think this year is going to be even better. And lots of good stuff there, so we very much appreciate that because it kind of keeps the wheels going. Even though I'm in a dark room, it keeps these yellow lights on or orange lights. I actually got a good hue with the clouds going on right now. I feel like I'm close enough to it. On my
It looks
side.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so
you're in the world of Fallout.
Yeah, I'm using orange. I feel like there's not many times I get to use orange on the cast. Like I use the side quests, GameCube. I use green for the main episodes, and then lots of red, but never much orange. So where should we go?
Well, I'll shout out one sequence from episode 2 because it doesn't really connect to anything else, so it's a quick shout out. But is the Shady Sands backstory? We did a little time jump back there to seeing just like what happened to this town. I think it was maybe a 10-minute sequence, maybe 15 minutes or something like that. And part of this is the reveal that Lucy's dad, who I can't remember his actual name right now, is the one who did the final detonation of that bomb in that city. And now that I think about it, we didn't even get him at all in episode 4, did we? So he's been absent for a bit now.
No, I guess he's still just experimenting on those rats.
Which was quite the sequence as well. But I really liked that sequence of Shady Sands because I thought that was a really interesting storyline in season 1, and I didn't really expect for us to go back there. And I don't think it needed to be in there, other than making maybe that guy build him up as more of a villain, I suppose.
Yeah.
When you see him make a decision like that in real time. But yeah, I thought that sequence was really cool, and like the visuals of it looked really nice as well. I mean, in general, like this show just looks great. Like obviously the environments, even like the CGI of crazy creatures and stuff, everything always feels like believable within the world. And I think a scene like that was very different than what we've got with the rest of these sequences. So I really enjoyed that little moment.
Yeah, I think it's still good to kind of. We're only in season 2, right? And I could be wrong, but I feel like majority of the flashbacks, if not all of them, last year were only from the Ghoul, aka Cooper Howard's perspective, right? And we did get that. I really like the flashback of when the bombs drop and he's there, but I think this is one, is showing another community go through it, and then two, yeah, they're adding more to the notches on the belt for Kyle MacLachlan being the bad guy, and that's why I am curious, because I feel there's that. I feel like last episode, or one of them, so I'm gonna mix them up, but one of the episodes where he was actually experimenting on humans before it all went to crap with the whole brain thing and
Yep.
whatnot. So I'm very curious what's gonna happen when him and Lucy link up. I do think that's going to happen this season, and I just feel like they're not. I feel like obviously last season they set him up that he's done bad things, but I feel you could do it in a route where you don't see him, and it's maybe is he gonna keep going down this route? Is his daughter gonna turn him? Where I feel like they're just very over emphasizing. No, he's a bad guy. Maybe not like. I think he still loved Lucy, but he's still like he's experimenting on people. He's dropping these bombs, so it's not like he was kind of just going with the flow. He was cooperating in many of these events, right? So I'm kind of, and they even, I think it was this episode too when they asked Lucy like, "Who are you looking for? Like someone you love or someone you hate?" And she didn't answer, and then goes like, "Oh, what you gonna say?" And she's like, "Oh, just someone that did bad things, right? And I got to bring him to justice." And same thing in this world. It's like, I know it's the NCR, right? That's who they are.
Yep.
Yeah, when they're like, "Oh, well, that's what we do." It's like, well, yeah, but you guys are like a couple rocks on a cliff. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna lock up Kyle MacLachlan and sentence him, right? So it's most of the time the justice leads to someone dying in this universe. We haven't seen many prisons, so and honestly, I don't think that's what Lucy's gonna want to do. I'm not sure if Ghoul's gonna make that. So I feel like with everything we're learning about the dad and the build up to that, I'm excited to see the confrontation, and I don't think he's gonna survive it. Is my prediction, season 2.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's an interesting type of perspective from the Fallout perspective, because normally, yeah, you're just like, you are the player, and maybe you encounter a villain, but you don't really get like backstory things like this. You don't get like extended sequences where the villain is just doing villainous, shitty things. And I feel like a lot of this stuff, also, you're just like reading like a terminal to learn about how some guy is evil sometimes, right? So to get scenes like this is kind of a unique perspective from someone who's played a lot of the games, so I like that as well. It's cool.
Yeah, and I know we mentioned that last season because she was already doing that, but again, every time she's like, "Oh, I'm looking for my father, looking for this," it just feels exactly like the video game, you know.
Yeah.
So, I want to, because I don't want to forget about this. I have a list of notes to bring up, but with Ghoul, what did you feel about in episode 2? I was very interested where him and Lucy are just hiking. They hear some squealing and whatnot, and that's how we get to who are the Macaulay Culkin people again? What are they?
Kaiser's Legion.
The Kaiser's Legion. That's how we get there. Is they find two people that are part of that, but
You mean like the hospital sequence?
yes, and they're like
okay.
infected or whatnot. What
Yeah.
was, which I'm waiting to kind of tie back to, was they walk in there and they find them, and then Ghoul walks up to this guy. He's like, "Oh, give me your hand." And then the second they grab hands, he like slits his throat and starts to eat him, right? And I thought the show was gonna kind of go, "Oh, well, they're bad," like they're gonna reveal that they were bad people, so Ghoul's not that bad of a guy. But they never really did. Like, I'm not sure if they're good people, but they're a part of some sort of their own separate thing. I know they did kidnap Lucy, so they tried to do that, but for Lucy and us as the viewers, we didn't know that they were semi-shady or doing bad stuff, right? So Ghoul just like flat out, I know his ideas, they were damaged goods and gonna die anyways, but he killed that person, started eating them, and then Lucy left him there to die as kind of punishment, and we haven't got back to that. So I'm kind of hoping there's more to it, but this episode was just Lucy on drugs and having a good time, which is fun. Ella Purnell's doing a great motivation, but I feel that was a step above for the Ghoul just to take out that person, right? And just kind of snack on it. If they're bad, I don't really care, but they didn't know that, right? And I feel like with Lucy, is that something she's kind of down with? So I'm kind of hoping we're going to dive in more of the Ghoul stuff, because my other point to hoping that they are is she did bring up one of the episodes like, "Oh, when your family meets you, are they going to be happy with who you've become," right? So
Yeah.
I hope we do circle back to that. It was just that we got in episode 2 and there was never really mention of it again. I know they've been on the road, but I feel like that's a big thing we've seen Ghoul do some stuff, but that was just actively murdering, just could have presumed an innocent person, right? So
Yeah. You know, they're an interesting pairing. Yeah, in that they're kind of like diametric opposites. If he's like, just he's been in this for so long, he doesn't trust anyone. He
Yeah.
will just kill someone at the drop of a hat. And she's like, you know, all benevolent, good kind of personality. And I guess over the course of season 1, and now that they're spending more time season 2, it's like they're kind of getting brought more towards the center a bit. Yeah, we still haven't seen him do a lot of good things yet, but he did save her. He went out of his way to save her. He could have easily screwed over the NCR. Obviously, that was like part of his gambit with with Kaisar's Legion, is that he was going to give away their location. But he obviously didn't. He just like set up a trap for the Kaisar's Legion to kill each other, which you could argue that's a bad thing. But from the one perspective we saw, it seems like they're pretty evil people, right? They have heads on pikes every 2 meters. So obviously that's a different kind of perspective there. So,
Mhm.
and then you're right. This episode did feel kind of different because she was just going through withdrawals and didn't feel like the regular Lucy that we normally expect. So yeah, I wonder how much. I mean, I assume we'll keep getting more of that. Of still, she's a bit naive of this world and a little too trusting. There was even a lot of that, like even in season 1 when she was traveling with Titus. And I don't know if you remember this one sequence when they're like getting up to a bridge and there's 2 people on the other side of the bridge and they
Mhm.
have like this long conversation trying to
face-off,
decide like,
right?
can we trust these people? She's like, oh yeah, we can trust them. And then of course, as soon as they get
Yeah.
close, they like pull a gun, and he was ready to go. So obviously that's kind of constantly been happening. But I feel like we'll just kind of get more and more of that. And I don't know, maybe at some point we'll get like some big moment where he becomes a hero for someone or to another group of people.
Yeah.
And just show that
Or
he's
even
not like,
Lucy in a
completely
sense, right?
evil.
Like, well, I
Yeah.
guess he already is though. He saved her from these people, right? Last episode where he
did,
cut her
yeah.
down after she kind of left him to die. So I guess there's that's kind of happening. She just didn't really. That wasn't a big moment. She didn't thank him. There wasn't a conversation because, like you said, you mentioned the drugs, which that's something that I think isn't a positive. Where that feels very faulty. Where there's certain, I don't know, stims or med packs or
That
whatnot.
sound
if you
effect is
take too
glued
much,
in my head when you're going through withdrawals or when you wake up
Yes.
after sleeping and like the beer wears off and then like it hits you with that little jingle. So yeah, that's very
Yeah.
relatable for the Fallout experience.
So that's something to me that has worked out well as far as okay, that feels like there's drama stuff, but there's still it's good for Lucy because they're walking, and that just feels very much like the video game where okay, if you're hooked on something, it might take a little bit, but maybe it's just good to stay hooked on that thing. I don't know. So that was working out for me, and that was good because I feel other than a few moments like near the end, lots of the Brotherhood stuff was really lots of the stuff was really silly. Well, I guess the Fault thing was kind of serious, but the Brotherhood stuff was silly up until the final
Yeah.
shootout because all the stuff with it, I guess we didn't talk about. How did you feel about the Kumail Nanjiani character? He was playing some Commonwealth representative. He had came there because he heard that there was going to be a civil war, so he kind of put the kibosh on that. Him and Titus, which I don't know, I feel like anyone would have saw coming a mile away. I was kind of hoping they were doing a red herring when he was getting really buddy with him. Like, oh, Kumail's just going to be a bad guy, and that's going to be it.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping it wasn't that. Even though I did. I really like the scene with the ghouls because I thought there was something really odd about Kumail playing it. Like he's usually a pretty funny. I'm not saying he's a joyful guy, but he has an energy about him. And the fact he was doing that same type of energy while threatening kids, there was something that I liked about being. Oh, this is really off. He didn't get like super dark and serious. He was still like he had a smile on his face. He's like, "Wow, you guys are abominations, so I got to get rid of you." So I didn't mind that character, and I like that. Okay, it's fun actor coming in for 2 episodes. But what did you feel about him and Titus overall? And obviously they're posing as his dead body right now, or they were at least to get through.
Yeah,
so.
no, I guess he was gone quicker than I thought he would be. I thought we'd get him for more of the series, and I don't know. I don't think I saw many trailers for this, so maybe that was a false expectation or something. I mean, I like him just because he's a fun actor and he hams up the role well for what they were supposed to be here. And I do feel like this. I don't know if this is like they took criticism from season 1 and like made an adjustment here because I feel like this Brotherhood stuff is much sillier than it was in the first season. Like you had when Titus was with his buddy that I always forget the name of, and those two were off. There were some funny moments, but like back at the Brotherhood proper, I feel like we didn't get any comedy. Like that was the serious part of the show. Like if there was anyone that just stuck to that one type of vibe to it. So they've really switched things around here, especially with that sequence that you mentioned in this episode with him faking in the armor there. But yeah, I was really intrigued by what Kumail was going to offer, and then when they go on their little journey together, I was liking this little bromance. And when I whip out the super sledgehammer, of course that's fun as well. And then yeah, it just kind of ended kind of quickly. So I think I maybe wanted a bit more, and I don't know. I guess we've already kind of had this whole like this civil war is it was feel like it was like bubbling up, and now it seems like it's already over almost. Like because they're as what's his name Titus is leaving the base at the end of episode 4.
Mhm.
All the ships are shooting each other, havoc inside. So like. Is that just the Civil War is kind of over now, and we're just going to pick up with it next season or something? Like I don't know what the next step is for that. It feels like they already
Yeah.
blew their load kind of early.
Yeah, that's tough because I like, on one hand, I like Titus leaving. It gives him some urgency and an actual story, right? That he finally, because I feel like last season it was kind of going back and forth. Not that he was leaving, but they're edging that way of like, was he really in this? Was he not? Was he just kind of a lost soul? And I like that we went from, okay, episode 2, he's fully locked in. We're doing this to episode 3, he's kind of going back and forth. And I feel like near the end of that, and then episode 4, he kind of got back to his old ways. But I think at least the old ways, I still want to be a little more comedic and a little more goofy. But it feels like maybe he won't be as. I don't think the character was dumb, but I feel like he had a little bit of dumb luck last season, where I feel like he's a little bit more seasoned now. So
Right.
I think maybe we could get something good with that character having, the fun emotions being a bit more juvenile with some actual training, because I feel like then you don't make him so kid-like. So with the Civil War, I like that kicking off. I like him taking the urgency to leave with whatever what do they call it? It was an artifact, right? Or
Yeah, I forget the
yeah.
name of the little MacGuffin piece.
Yeah, I'll call it the MacGuffin for now. But I like they did that, and I like that he went up to whoever the leader of the Brotherhood is, and they had that whole conversation. And at first, I was like, oh, why wouldn't he shoot him? But I thought that was good. They kind of time that point in the character back, right? Like he's not actively trying to murder people, so he was maybe got a little cold, but he is still himself. So I liked all the stuff for Titus with the Brotherhood and the Civil War stuff. I think that's something. I don't know. It could be shelved to next season, but at the same time, is his story also them like hunting him? I guess I just need to know what's happening with that artifact, right? Like, is it that fight happens and then the Commonwealth and the Brotherhood are after him? Because that could be a
Yeah.
good story point where you have two factions after one guy and this thing, or does he
I
kind
ju-
of somehow link up with Lucy and crew, right?
Does that feel like too much? Just kind of repeating a little bit of like season 1 of just having like a random item that everyone's after.
What was the item last year? Was it the fusion core, right?
It was like I forget what it was called, but it was the thing that was like inside the scientist's head. So for the first half of the season, it
Right.
was like the head was the thing was the thing that people were after, and then they get the thing from inside the head. I think it was the cold fusion device. I forget they had a little fun name for it, of course, but yeah, I don't know. Like that to me, that doesn't feel like a very Fallout-y trope. To have like a mystical object, like that feels more like a fantasy game kind of trope, like an
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls thing. So I don't know. I guess I don't know if I need that, but it's not like every faction is after that. It's not like that's what Lucy's
Yes.
goal is right now is to find that thing. It just seems like I don't know something to set up more of this Brotherhood thing, and I guess why people would be tracking him down. I guess that's the reason to give him something like that. Otherwise, who would care if this one guy just runs off to go do his other thing?
Do you think Titus reuniting with Lucy and the crew, do you think that's like a cliffhanger for like, oh, that's how the season ends and they're back together for 3, or do you think it happens before the season ends?
I mean, yeah, I feel like with the Civil War seemingly already happening, like Kaiser's Legion is potentially done. Who knows how much we're gonna get at the Strip, considering there's no one there. Like, I think they probably will, because like I just don't know what else is gonna happen in the season at this point. I feel like we're
Yeah.
blowing through a lot of things pretty quickly, so I feel like they will see each other. They will get reunited this season. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think so too. The reason I
'Cause-
think that, oh, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Remember
Yeah.
on episode 1, we were both talking about Lucy's brother. I need to get his freaking name because I keep just calling him Lucy's brother. But we both were like, oh wow, he like is breaking these people out of the cryogenic freezing, and we both were like, oh yeah, it's probably gonna be a couple episodes of them hanging out in the vaults before, and then maybe they'll leave or something. It's like no,
Norm, by
next
the way.
episode they Norm immediately they left, and so I feel
Yeah.
like this show is kind of just like. For a lot of storylines, it's not taking its time. It's just like
Yeah.
going after it. So that's where I feel like they will reconnect. But I don't really know what the thing will be that has them meet up with each other. Because she doesn't know he's
They
alive.
seem so far apart.
He doesn't know where she is.
Yeah,
And there's no like intertwining story currently, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
yeah, and we kind of learned with season 2, because I can't remember. He always has. I'll see if I can find their name. He has that buddy.
Yeah,
they're-
that guy's name too.
Yeah, I can't remember who it is. No, I think it's the girl who has like the more shaven head.
Oh,
with
that person. Okay.
yeah, which I like gave him the speech of like, hey, like you're not a murderer, because he was like, oh, I couldn't do it because that could have been the ending point. She's like, no, that's a good thing you didn't do it. They were talking about in episode 2 though, which is could still be a good thing for his storyline going forward. He didn't know why she left, right? So like obviously she thought he
Yeah.
was dead, but he almost felt like in episode 2 she like just kind of ditched him. Not even a
Yep,
way of like, oh, I
true,
thought he was
yeah.
dead or had a own mission, just like, whatever, I'm kind of done with you. So there's something there. Yeah, I don't know how they get back together. I think the only reason I'm speculating that they are is I wonder because Kyle MacLachlan was saying like, oh, when he's that flashback of him talking with the person talking about how like, oh, something's missing, like he's trying to improve on Howard's work or the company's work. I wonder whatever Titus has, if that's gonna get intercepted and McLaughlin's gonna get his hands on and be like, oh, this is something that I needed to make this tech work.
That's the key to the mind control thing. Yeah,
That's what I feel like is gonna happen. Just because I feel like he already was saying like, oh, something's not working, I need something. And then he has that. Again, I don't know how they get linked up, so we'll see. I think we'll get one episode next week of Titus just. I guess he's not on his own. Do you think that other ghoul type of guy is he sticking with them for the whole time, or like he has those kids he's looking at, right? So he has to space off. I feel like.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was kind of confused when he even went with them in the first place. But
Well, he just needed someone. Because it was like a payback, right? Like I saved your guys' lives, so I need you to go undercover
I guess
as
so. But
Commandant Johnny.
when they made that plan, did he say that he was going to go back to the kids?
I don't
Again, I
think they
feel
ever
like
said.
with the show's
Yeah.
pacing, I feel like we're not going back there. I think he'll probably stick together. I think they'll probably stick together. I thought that guy died last season, right? Wasn't that like a surprise that he came back in this season at all?
I couldn't remember because in the recap
Because
they
he got
showed
like an
him
arrow through his
healing.
neck in season
Yeah,
1.
but they showed him healing after that, so I think they
Yeah,
did hint
right,
that he was
right.
still alive. So
Right.
yeah, I don't dislike that character. I don't know if I'm fine with one episode. I don't know if I need him to now accompany Titus the
Yeah.
whole time and
He's a
be
very
like.
specific type of humor that, yeah, I feel like you only have a certain amount of limit that you can pull off with him.
Also, we've been calling him Titus. Isn't his name Maximus? I have it on IMDb.
Is his name
yeah,
not Titus?
his name's Maximus. As I'm looking at IMDb.
Oh,
right
I
now,
think
so-
Titus is the person that he's been like was impersonating the armor of or something.
Okay, there you go. So everybody, yeah, Maximus is
don't know
the real person. That's who we were talking about the whole time there. But
Hey, if he was a character from New Vegas, maybe I would remember the name. But
Yeah.
in this case, I can't.
yeah, so no, like I said, I didn't mind that stuff. I actually liked the Brotherhood trying to do a civil war without knowing, and then the Commonwealth found out, and then a bunch of Brotherhood people were like, oh no, we're not doing that. I liked that. I think again, I like that Maximus had a lot of urgency when like, okay, well, if you go in there and they find out you kill him, what you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna kill him. You know, he didn't, but I felt like last season he was there like, oh, I don't know, and just going place to place. Feels like he has or wants to try and have somewhat of a purpose with his actions now. So I like that. And hopefully, and I think that'll be better for when they meet up with the Ghoul, because I feel like the Ghoul season 1 Maximus would have just been walked over all by that guy, right? Even the few interactions where now I feel like he's a bit more of a could puff his chest out, and he's
Yeah.
done some stuff. Like even that one episode, it was end of episode 2. Yeah, that guy challenged him to a fight, and he's like, oh well, I don't really want to do this. So
Right.
later, and he got him to fight, and he won, right? So he
And
just
that guy was
doesn't.
huge.
Yeah, so he doesn't feel as frail. So I think what we'll do is we'll get one episode of him kind of on his lonesome in the wasteland, and then he'll somehow link up back with them. I don't know. Maybe he'll talk to somebody that heard some, because they did have that moment where the NCR, when she said, oh, I'm looking for somebody, and he goes, oh, everybody is. So maybe he'll bump into one of the characters we've already met, and they'll mention a girl
Okay,
and
yeah.
the Ghoul, and be like, oh, well, where were they going? Oh, well, they went that. So that's what I feel like. Could be, even though the wasteland feels huge, you know, TV shows, movies tend to make it a small world now. So that's my prediction. So
hmm
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, rewinding back now to episode 2. I wanted to shout out 2 things from like that early hospital sequence with Cooper and Lucy. I mean, one, I like seeing the Rad Scorpion fight because that's just a classic Fallout enemy, and I thought the CGI was fun, well
Yeah.
choreographed, fun scene. 2 quotes I really liked from Howard in that sequence is one, he says, "Empathy is like mud. You step in it and lose your boot," which I thought was a very good
Yeah,
line.
that's a good one.
I also really liked he's talking about her, the way she is. She's asking something about like how he was back in the day, and he's like, when I was like before the war, just like you, stupid.
Yeah.
So another good line from him. But I guess that kind of lead us into the Kaisar's Legion stuff, where she gets kind of kidnapped there, taken to the camp, and then he breaks her out. So what is your since you don't have the backstory, how did you feel about Kaisar's Legion? What was your impression of that faction and crew?
Yeah, it was fun. It felt like, because obviously I didn't know if it was show or movie or game or whatnot, but I will give them credit there. It felt like the games when you said it came from the game. This idea of The idea of this is a compliment, the stupidity of, oh, the air is in the person's pocket on a note, but we can't get there because every time we try to get like the note, someone shoots us or a war starts or whatnot. That
Mm,
feels very video gamey, where these
yeah.
characters are just at a standstill doing nothing, and it's just, well, can you fix it, stranger? Right? Obviously, she doesn't, and she just gets tied up. So I like that, and that's why I kind of hope Macaulay Culkin does come back, because I thought he was tons of fun in the small little bits we got. I was actually surprised how little he was in there.
Yeah,
So
me too.
that's what I'm thinking. He has to come back, in my opinion. But no, I really enjoyed it, and I wouldn't mind getting more of them. I thought the amount we got them for like an episode and a half was the right amount. I don't think you want to just get anchored there the whole season, but I thought it was a fun dynamic of this kind of power vacuum, and then their feud with the NCR, which is just, again, this very small group of people. So I enjoyed everything we got with these. So that was I'd say a high point in these 4 episodes so far.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just want more from the game perspective of this being such a big part of the games, and
Mhm.
obviously the rivalry with the NCR. Which, yeah, it's interesting for the NCR to be so weak right now. Like, it is when you're playing New Vegas, they're essentially like the police officers of that world. They're all over the place,
Okay.
and they kind of operating, defending all sorts of cities.
Felt very
They're in
small in
New
this
Vegas
show so
proper.
far.
Yeah, on the strip they have like their own base camps. They're like taking over different cities and things. So they're a big presence, and they're definitely, yeah, not that this far.
It's just like one
Into
set so far. Like, other than the war, it's just that those rocks that Walton Goggins her were Lucy were talking to, and that's it. It's just like, this is where the NCR is. You're staying
mhm,
there, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, and then with the Legion, I like the dynamic of having two separate thrones and like two separate camps within this one faction, and they're kind of going after each other. That's kind of a new angle. I don't remember that being a thing in the game. I think there's just one Kaisar, one leader, one leader of the Legion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely want to see a bit more there. I just don't know. I don't know. Also, like, one of the things with the show, I feel like, is the logistics of how long it takes to get from place to place. We don't really spend much time on that, but like,
No.
seemingly, this is kind of far from like New Vegas proper. And obviously, there's like fast travel if you factor in how quickly these characters get around. So
Yes.
we'll see what happens there. But I just hope there's a bit more going on with them in the NCR. I feel like there's a lot more to be dug into there. But I liked Macaulay, and I liked the just general vibes. I think they did a good job of capturing the visuals of that location.
Yeah, which they were talking about then, and I got the full quote here. It was before, it was after that, but it was when Lucy was still on the drugs, and they went somewhere else, and the ghoul pitches something, and she's like, "Well, my dad's just over that fence," and then the ghoul starts to walk away, and then she says, "Oh, I'm done with all these side tracks and detours. I want to go do this now." Again, that felt, we've talked about it so many times with Fallout, and that's where it's interesting, right? Because with Fallout, and there's a faction or a storyline, a side quest that we get enthralled and play that for hours. But then with the TV show, you do kind of have to always make it like main objective first. So when
Yeah.
she said that line, I was like, oh, it felt very fourth wall breaking of like, how many side tracks we gonna do? Like, let's just do this
Yeah,
thing,
especially
right?
when you have
So
multiple characters kind of, doing stuff at the same time, right? That kind of dilutes
yeah,
it a bit too.
I wonder, because I guess we can try kind of transition to some of the vault and shelter people and her brother. God, I already forgot his name, Norm. I wonder, because also I'm sure there's budgeting and time, because like Walton Goggins, he's in White Lotus, he's in other stuff, right? I know that Elle Purnell, she's in some show where she plays a serial killer, so it's not like these people are just doing Fall, right? They're doing a lot of stuff, but I wonder if it was possible, if there's a world where if the three characters were really just Maximus, Lucy, and Ghoul, and all the scenes we're getting with the other people, if you just cut them and gave them more time, if you could get more stuff with the NCR and Macaulay Culkin and all, and more Strip and New Vegas stuff, right? Like, that's the one thing I always wonder if it could be better, because then obviously I feel like you can take more side quests when you're with your main characters, where some of that stuff, like the Vault people, feels like a side quest already, right? I'm sure it's going to tie in all together, but I wonder what the show would be like if it was more just centered on the three, and that was it, right? Maybe I'm kind of wishing it was that, because none of the other stuff is kind of offensive, but I think there's just a general lack of investment from me on everything that's not those three so far. So
Yeah, I'm definitely like with the vault. What's going on in the vaults right now? I'm pretty uninvested in, I would say. And we
mhm.
finally got maybe a bit more in this one episode. I feel like it's just one of those things that gets stretched out. Like if you're having like no matter what episode of this show you have, you're always gonna have a bunch of Lucy and Ghoul stuff, right? Because they're kind of like the leads 1 and 2. You're
Yeah.
probably always gonna have some Maximus stuff. Although I think he wasn't in one of the episodes now that I think about it. But it feels like, okay, if there's any storyline that's going to get cut for time in a particular episode, it seems to be like that vault stuff or like what's going on with Norman and whatnot. So it just feels like those ones move at a snail's pace compared to these other ones that move just like really, really fast. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Just I don't know if that's an editing thing, a pacing of the episodes, an episode count limitation, budget thing. I'm not sure what it is, but it feels kind of noticeable at times.
Yeah, and with the Vol people, I don't know. There's a power struggle with, I can't remember, always forgot her name too, like the blonde lady. I think
Betsy and Steph. Yeah.
Betsy and stuff. Like, I feel like we talked about last episode where we talked about season 1, and then we talked about this with the episode of episode 1, season 2 here. As okay, is Steph someone is she bad? Is she good? Is she in the middle? Does she not know what she's doing? I feel like we're getting the sense now that she is. If she's not on like a bad side or doing bad things, she's just overcome with power to become a bad person now. It just feels like they've drawn that line, which is fine. We've clearly defined it. We had that whole conversation about like, oh, you broke a rule. Who do I report to? I'll take it to the higher power. They're like, well, you're the higher power, right? Like, that stuff for me is probably the thing I would definitely, just like we talked about episode 1, I would cut that easily. I have no interest there. And then so far the other Norm and all the Vault people that came out there, I'm on a wait and see. They took a different approach than I thought, because like you said a couple minutes ago, I thought we were gonna have a couple episodes of them talking, figuring out some power dynamics. Right now, is we're out of there right away, and it's more, other than that one guy who's definitely suspicious of Norm. It's like a very very like,
very naive.
yeah, very naive, very goofy too as well. Everybody like, oh, let's do this. Oh, you said like, so I'm not saying it's bad per se, but I have no investment yet. Maybe that's also season 1's fault of I don't care about Norm enough. Like even Maximus, who I think I was lower on in season 1, I still end up caring about him at some point. I don't know if the Norm character justifies following him, and not the actor or anything like that, but more what they wrote for it. Because I don't know. Like so far, there's still nothing. Like okay, there's this. What's going to happen? This guy's going to eventually start talking to the rest of the group. They figure out you're a fraud, and then they kind of turn on you. And I just don't know what the end game is. And hopefully, when we get there, it'll make sense and feel like it's a purpose. But so that definitely took a different route than I was expecting, because we speculated how it could go, and it went a different route. Not necessarily awful, but not anything that I'm loving either.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I feel like Norm already kind of maybe gave up a bit too much power. I feel like he's already given a lot to that guy. I feel like you give that guy an inch, he takes a mile is kind of the vibe I get from him. So we'll see how that progresses. I'm surprised none of them have died yet. Just from a creature, from a raider, from anything. So that's kind of surprising. A trap, a random landmine, which are all over the games whenever you're walking around. So I'm sure that'll happen soon. One thing I did, it was an interesting nugget. It wasn't really that explored in a big way. But was the when they're kind of outside that truck, they're all kind of snacking, and it's just Norm and the other girl having a quick conversation. She's looking up at a bridge, and then she talks about how like a week ago I drove over that bridge for like an interview,
right?
And like that's a really interesting perspective. And if you compare it to the games, like in New Vegas, like you didn't come from a vault. In Fallout 3, you grew up in a vault. In Fallout 4, I think it does a good job of that, of like, being in the cryogenic tube and you're in like time passes, you don't really know how much time has passed. But the idea of like, man, going from 1 week ago, you were a regular person in a regular world, to this, like that is a really compelling thought. And I feel like I'd like to hear other characters have like more, not just Norm and her, but like other characters having a conversation about that. It seems like you could dive into some interesting ground there. So I don't know how much more we'll get of that, but I did think that was, just specifically from the game perspective, an interesting and like fairly unique perspective. We don't really see people from that point of view. So I thought that was a little bit interesting, a tidbit.
Yeah, no, I think that's something you could use if you wanted to make more of a dramatic turn with those characters. I think the problem with them being, like we said, a bit naive and goofy, I don't know how much they want to do that. But I thought there was like a good, I think it was episode 3, and that's where it shows there's still some good dramatic stuff when it was a Cooper Howard flashback, and it was like Cooper Howard's war buddy talking about how he saved him in the tail and everything like that, and about, you don't know what side you're on, you're just trying to hope to do good for the people that are home, and you hope that you did something that so when you die or the war is over, you feel justified, but at the same time you and the other people on their side could just begin these bad orders. So I'm butchering the speech that he gave, but that was a good dramatic bit where I was like, okay, I don't really care about this like flashback of Cooper Howard, but I enjoy that. So if they were to give some emotional resonance to, oh yeah, I was one thing when I went to bed and now I'm another thing when I wake up, that'd be great. I feel like we've talked about this a few times where I think early on in the MCU Phase 4 they touched upon it, but I feel like we never got clearly enough of what was it like being gone for 5 years and coming back? Like Tom Holland Spider-Man never really talked about that. To me, that would be a big thing. Like, you miss 5 years of your life. I know you're the same age, but it's like a lot changes, right? So I feel like that the passage of time, the slippage of time, there's tons to be mined there. And I feel like obviously, MCU didn't do that. And I feel like with Fallout, they could be doing it. So I agree with you. I like that conversation. I just wonder, same thing again, is like the Ghoul where, okay, he does something really mean. Lucy calls him out for it. Then the episode, it's like resolved, right? Where I don't think it should be that. I think with both those characters, with Lucy and Ghoul, if they're traveling together, it's fine for them to have this tension of him taking lives, her not wanting to, and this whole time of them seeing with the Vault people or Norm's people of seeing new locations or new things, or even just these mutant and monsters. Like, that has to be quite the change up for you. And you were just, obviously you were prepped for it a little bit as far as the shelters and the nukes and stuff, but it's different to be prepped than to actually see it, right? So I would like that, but again, there's just so much going on. There's so many storylines because we have Lucy and the Ghoul, we have Maximus, we have whatever's going on in 31 and 32. We have this once, and then obviously it's not in there that much, but we have Kyle MacLachlan do whatever he's doing over there. And even though it's still the Ghoul story, we still have the flashbacks, right? Again, we talked about they have been a little. I think they're definitely less than season one because I was expecting them every episode. They haven't been, and it feels like when we get them, we're just kind of getting one and a half sort of scenes there of the flashbacks, which I didn't. I liked the scene with what's his name? Is it Robert House or House? Who's the
Mr.
computer?
House? Yeah.
Mr. House, yeah. The guy that's doing all this computer stuff, and even then, I still think that's what's happening because I liked that scene of Ghoul. I think it was episode 2 or 3, bumping into that computer, and he's talking about like, oh yeah, House always wanted to live forever, and he was trying to figure that out, and yet, so I liked the flashback scene of them in the bathroom. I just thought it was a very awkward setup of a couple days before, like, hey, we're gonna need you to spy on House here, and then House just is like standing in the washroom waiting to talk to him. Now, granted, if they reveal that House kind of intercepted that and know, hey, this guy's maybe going to be snooping around, then I'll retroactively take that away. But it felt very easy of just like, oh, well, he has to get an in. Well, the House happened just to strike up a conversation with him alone in the bathroom, right? So I liked the convo. It just felt very coincidental. So again, very less amount of scenes of those two together that I thought was going to happen. So
yeah, definitely after episode 1, I was expecting more of that, and I don't know if I expected much other flashback sequences because we got that one episode 2 we talked about, and then I wanted to ask you about the one in episode 4 of like the Ghoul. I guess before he's a Ghoul, just Howard being Howard. He's in power armor, and then he gets knocked over. I was really confused. At first I thought this was a flashback to him as an actor in a movie that he was doing before the war, and then obviously when a Deathclaw comes out and he kills these people, I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is after the war, but before he's been ghoulified, and he's in power armor, and it's like, I think it's like Chinese officers, which is like a big part of the game, like whenever like the war between the US and like China and stuff, and like anytime in any of the games, the first time you finally get like the Chinese assault rifle, it's like, oh fuck yeah, I'm about to like power up here, this is a good weapon. But I don't know what to make that scene. I was very confused by that.
I don't know. I guess it was just to tie the Deathclaw because they did establish he was a soldier before he was an actor, right? Because they talked about that last year, and then even in episode
so that's like
3.
a way back flashback. But
yes,
but there was a Deathclaw, so that was after the war. Right?
So I guess are you saying Deathclaws didn't exist till the nukes went off?
No, because they're like caused by radiation, which is like scorpions existed, but rad scorpions only exist because of the radiation from the bombs. And Deathclaws, I don't know what they evolved from, but they definitely did not exist before. Like, I guess they were just lizards before radiation, right?
So is that maybe to signify that people were doing some sort of experimentations with semi-nuclear stuff before?
Is that in China, maybe? If there's Chinese soldiers there?
Maybe, and they were in full like attire of it.
They had never seen power armor before. They were shocked by that as well.
So I guess maybe they might be a thing where China already was doing some stuff over there because like obviously it was just a tie, like story-wise, it was just a tie. Okay, he saw his Deathclaw do a bunch of terrible things. So at the end of this episode, when him and Lucy see it, he knows, okay, bad business, hard to kill. And I thought the Deathclaw looked pretty good. It was better up close when you could tell they built a practical model. From afar when it's moving, it's a little iffy, but that's okay. But I don't know the ramifications of that
People let us
thing.
know in the Discord. This is the one thing I don't know anything about. I need people to tell me what's going on in that sequence.
He says, "Shout out to Mandarins, not Chinese," says Taylor Field. So
1%.
there you go. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't think about that because I just thought, oh, it's the war. But I guess yeah, if those were from nuclear things, how would those death claws be kicking around? And I don't have that answer for you. But
Yeah, because I don't know how long it took for him to become a ghoul. I assumed it was like from the initial blasts that he
yes,
just got
that's
too
what I
much
think.
radiation. But I
Yeah,
don't know how long the transformation takes. But
and
I
this
don't
is a
know.
long time ago. I feel like, right?
Yeah,
So
I
okay, so
no idea what's going on there. No
Mr.
idea.
Fields coming in and saying, I read the death claws were experimental. So maybe those were a thing
Okay,
before the nukes
maybe
went
that's
off.
just a piece of Fallout lore I don't know about. I assumed they
Okay.
were like everything else post bombs, but yeah, maybe not.
So I guess that timeline is Walton Goggins is at war. They got the power armor. I do assume I'm with you that I feel like it's a different country. It's China, somewhere like that. They get taken out. They see the Death Claws. Obviously, get saved. They go back. There's that stuff. He becomes an actor. Then Nuke, and then the Death Claws again. So maybe also I guess that's why it's like very surprising to him because obviously we knew they were around, but maybe. I wonder if he'll talk about this next week. Maybe he has not seen a Death Claw, which I guess doesn't make sense to me because this is supposed to be. They've said that this is technically in the video game canon, right? And it's the furthest point out for Fallout, like the TV show. It's past all the games and everything.
Right.
You'd feel like how long the ghoul's been around, he would have bumped into one, but maybe not. Maybe
or
he's just
hear about them at the very least.
yeah, or hear about them, but I guess maybe not. Maybe he's not a talkative guy, so people don't talk to him, and maybe he hasn't seen that, right? So I guess that's the idea. If he would have thought that's like a monstrous thing he would never see again, and here it is, and yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes because I definitely think the Deathclaw. I think obviously it was in last season. I think they're doing a great job of building up as far as like the size. It started the episode. I think so far Walton Goggins has been scared by nothing, and when he sees it, there's a look of fear. And same as Lucy too. It finally feels like even though she's drugged up, that snaps her out of that. Like, oh man, there's this thing. So I think with how legendary that creature is and what happens in video games, I think that is worth an episode. I don't even know a whole episode, but even if they were telling me, hey, the whole episode for Lucy and Ghoul is just them fighting the Deathclaw, I could believe that. I think that's fine. I'm just curious how it's gonna look. That's what obviously Amazon is. I guess I forget Amazon has a lot of money, but still, it's just like it still is looking a little.
I mean, it's like the biggest creature in the game, so I feel like
Yeah.
you got to make it epic. If they kill it
Yes.
fairly easily, that would be quite a letdown, right?
I don't think they would because we have so many characters, but I would kill it if they said this episode's nothing but Lucy and Walton Goggins at 45 minutes of just them outrunning, outfighting,
And
trying to
there's
kill
no
this
other
thing.
storylines.
Yeah, no storyline, like
That
kind
would
of like
be
Breaking
sick.
Bad, The Fly, where it's just like it's just what like if that next I don't think it's called that, but if next episode was just called Deathclaw and you dedicated 45 minutes to killing this thing, to me that would really put it over as like a big deal, right? So I don't think so. I bet it's gonna be like the first 10 minutes, or who knows, maybe they don't kill it. Maybe they just escape from it, right? I don't know, but yeah, I am curious how they pull it off, and I hope they do it just. I hope it is a scene that we go, hey, maybe we have some issues with story or this that, but that Deathclaw scene, that was worth the price of admission, so
Yeah, I hope we're building up to that because, yeah, I mean, I was disappointed when we got to the strip and it was just a derelict wasteland. I mean, I guess that's what Fallout is. It's a wasteland. But the strip is supposed to be like the one lively spot in this entire area.
Oh,
Tons
really?
of
Okay.
people, all the different factions, right? And that's why it was still fun to see like all the names of the different, like the Lucky 38 and the Gamora, and all these things, the tops. But like, I want to go in there and meet the people and see what's going on there. And they all have like their different vibes. One of them is like they're actually doing like cannibalism, like they're eating people and serving that food to the guests, and one of them's more for gambling, one of them's more like a stripper play. Like it's all this crazy stuff's going on here. There's fun little side characters, and I just feel like, well, we're not going to get any of that if like literally everyone is dead here. So that was a bit of a disappointment. Now hopefully it does come with a sweet Deathclaw sequence, and maybe there will still be people that are alive, but it was extremely
Yeah.
quiet in the city itself. So we'll have to see what happens there. We also did get a reference from Cooper. He suggested they go through Freeside because it might be a bit safer, which is like another town outside of New Vegas. It's kind of where if you're too poor to get into New Vegas on the strip, you go to Freeside. It's like, classic destroyed little buildings, but you got a little town
Okay.
there. So I like that little reference. I don't know if we'll go there. That would be fun. The Kings, the Elvis Presley thing is a thing from the game. I don't remember
I was gonna
if they're-
ask you, yeah,
I don't remember if they're feral ghouls in the game or if they're just
more of like a gang.
ghouls, or I don't even remember if they're ghouls at all. I can't remember that level of detail, but they're definitely, I think it's a quest you get while you're in Freeside is like go eliminate the Kings, is the name
Okay.
of the gang there. So that was a fun reference as well.
I could be wrong, but I definitely think I've seen a screenshot of Elvis looking ghoul. So that's why I feel like when I saw him, like, okay, this
I
must
feel like the
be
head
from
ghoul,
the
like
game.
you can talk to him, is why I think they're maybe not
Okay.
feral ghouls, but maybe some of
Yes,
them are.
okay.
But hard to remember the details.
Yeah, no, too bad. I hope maybe if there's like a situation where because I feel what you described with the strip sounds very fun. I hope it's a situation where they just go, okay, we're done with season 2. That was New Vegas. Like I was like, I feel like I've not gotten the New Vegas vibe enough, and I've never played the game, but just like the amount of feeling very different. Obviously, we've met some factions, and maybe that'll change next week when we're kind of closer into the territory. We got the Kings, but I haven't felt like a big change up so far. It's just like, oh, it's more wasteland, it's similar colors. So
Definitely.
maybe I would be fine if they said like, oh yeah, some of this New Vegas stuff is gonna even continue into season 3, and we could get to the strip or other stuff because that sounds fun. But as we said, with Maximus leading the group with the MacGuffin, and now with them the Deathclaw, and they've insinuated that they're getting very close to Kyle MacLachlan. It feels like we're kind of nearing the end game storylines this season, right? Like it's only halfway, but that's the time you kind of have to start moving to the stuff that's going to end the season. So I wonder if any fun time adventure stuff is
Yeah.
maybe done for now, you know?
And because Kamal, he came, like, he's the Commonwealth faction of the Brotherhood where he came from, which is the name of like the open world in Fallout 4. So I was wondering if that was something we were leading to as well, as like this being like a bit of a bridge to us going to like Boston area for the next season or something like that. But with him being gone, I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. I mean, maybe that is what they're planning on doing, is each season is kind of tackling a different area or a different game in that sense. So I don't know. We'll see. Commonwealth could also refer to a bunch of the U.S. I don't really know what
Yeah,
that term
true.
means technically, though.
Yeah.
Just an interesting detail.
And I can't remember because you rewatched season 1. Did we meet anyone from the Commonwealth last year?
I don't remember that. I didn't clock
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think so either. And I just thought Camille got like a big entrance. That was the idea of, okay, he's kind of introducing that faction to us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Really, just a couple of quick hits for me. So you mentioned that, Howard, he goes and interacts with that robot named Victor, and then
Yeah, I liked
Victor
that.
like clues him off to where the NCR is. So in the game of New Vegas, when you start in a town of Good Springs, and it's like
Okay.
a small town of like maybe there's 15, 20 people that live there, and that's where Victor is, and you meet Victor, and that spins off like certain side quests and stuff. I didn't catch if we were in Good Springs in that sequence, or if he was just talking with Victor, the robot there. But anyway, it was cool to see Victor. Shouts to that. I like
Yeah,
that
I liked
Victor had his little like face screen thing similar to the game, and I also like when they had that sequence when Maximus and Kamal went and to the Sunset Sarsaparilla factory, and they were fucking up that one robot, and it had like the army man face. That's like all the guard robots around the New Vegas Strip have
Okay.
that on them, and I've always thought it's like a fun detail. And obviously, I assume that bot that was smashed up in this episode that they just walked right by would have had that face, and obviously failed. I don't know how. I guess I couldn't tell because with the Deathclaw egg was in the middle of New Vegas, so I thought that was the downfall, is that the egg, someone brought the egg into the city, and
Okay.
that's why the Deathclaw was able to fuck everything up. Because I feel like if it came from outside, I feel like there's probably enough security for them to take down a Deathclaw.
I
That's
think
like that
so.
most heavily guarded area in like the entire game. If we're comparing
Yeah,
it that way.
but I guess like you said, sometimes change. So even when you're saying the strip was quiet, maybe resources aren't what they were, right? Maybe it's not as guarded. Like
True, especially
even
with what
the-
you're saying of this being like the most up to date in the timeline. Like who
Yes.
knows what's happened to the Strip? I mean, maybe it was already someone abandoned, but I mean, the Ghoul, he seems surprised that it was like this. So to me, it seems like if he's up to date on anything, you'd probably know that the
Yeah,
Strip
true.
wasn't completely destroyed. Like I don't know, news probably travels very slow. In the
I was gonna
wasteland.
say, but at the same time, we talked about how he was surprised to see a Deathclaw, right? So the same thing. It's like, what does
Yeah.
the Ghoul know?
Maybe
you
he
know?
doesn't pay much attention. Maybe he just walks around and kills people.
Yeah, maybe. So, I can't remember. I had a point there.
Something with
but,
robots, something with.
Oh, that scene. Yeah, that's the scene with Camilla and Maximus. I wonder how it plays for non-game players, because that literally just felt like, hey, we're going to take 5 minutes of what you might see online when they're like, oh, shit, look at this. Oh, use this weapon. It just felt like two people messing around online, which I liked. I think maybe went on like a tad long. I would have cut it maybe like a minute and a half, because it felt like there's just another run of like, oh, shit, look at its head. Like, it was just like, but I wonder how that plays, because for me, it worked well. And it feels like a video game where it's, oh, we're showing just two people, like if it's Fallout 76 and two friends like messing around, having a good time. So I think that's fun. I think it's good. And I think that also broke Maximus out of his shell a little bit, because up in that point he was just like the deadpan serious war leader, right? So it kind of brought him back, and that's why I was kind of hoping it was going to be red herring, that Kamel wasn't going to be bad. I just thought it was like leading it to be very obvious, and then he was just bad. So I was kind of hoping when he was threatening the kids he was just joking, or he's going to have something else. Like, okay, because he's like counting down, and I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to be like, oh, and this is what it is. But like I said, I did like that scene overall. I know I shut up, but I liked the anticipation of he finds one kid, the multiple kids, and just that line of just like, okay, kids with the smooth skin over there. You're like, oh no. And I think I actually think that was probably some good acting by the Maximus guy as well in that moment of trying to stop these from happening, and killed them. And Bolt, I guess, yeah, I mentioned that a bit, but yeah, I just really didn't like how he like hid Kamel being dead, and they just took the armor. It's just like, okay, I just feel like no one, like, it felt very suspicious. It just, I don't know, it felt very, and you mentioned too the Brotherhood. I didn't like that scene either. I can't remember the girl, but at one point she was talking with him. She was almost figuring out that something was up with that guy pretending to be Kamel. And there was some infighting. At one point she stabs a guy in the cheek, and it goes through the knife, and the guy's like, oh, that was so cool. I didn't like that. Lots of the Brotherhood comedy stuff not working for me. I was actually fine if they went back to just being super straight and serious. I didn't need that.
It doesn't fit that faction to me. It kind of is jarring. So that I didn't love that.
And what did you feel about the leader turning on Max? Also, like, because it felt like Max was there, and it's like, okay, if he calls me out on it, I'm gonna kill him. And he says like, "Oh, are you here to kill me?" And then when he found out that he killed Kamel's character, it felt like he was kind of like, hey, we can work through this. Like, I'm still with you. But then when he found out about the ghouls, he's like, oh, those are abominations. He was going to kill him. Did you like that turn with the leader of the Brotherhood? Do you not care about him? Like, where were you on that?
Unfortunately, I think the answer is I don't care about him.
Yep, that's fair.
but I do think that sequence was like, I guess it showed how good he is at his job. I feel like there's another way I want to word that. But the fact that he was able to like talk Maximus down enough for him to not immediately get shot.
Good diplomatic skill tree this guy's
distract him, a little bit of sleight of hand, the magician trick to be able to get over to his pistol and be able to get out of that sequence. So I think that showed like, okay, like this guy is a leader and he feels
for a
like
reason.
Yeah, and he feels pretty savvy. He feels like as savvy as a leader should be. Like I don't think he would get fooled by that guy in the power armor like some of these other people were. Like,
yes,
either your perception stat or your intelligence stat is be high enough, and I feel like he has both those stats filled out on his character sheet there. So I like that stuff enough. I don't know, the ghoul part of it. I guess that's just like, okay, we want to make these characters shitty and racist, and I guess that's the best way to do it is through a ghoul. So maybe that's what that's kind of what they're going for there. So yeah, I guess none of it didn't really surprise me a whole lot, but I guess he's still alive, right? Assuming
I think that's definitely
gonna. I feel like they wouldn't kill him off screen.
Yes.
So
I feel like if you kill him, you let Maximus do that. Like if he have to do that. So I would be very disappointed if they're just like, yeah, that entire faction, because like Maximus has that friend there too, right? That girl, I think it is a girl or whoever it is. Like I think that like it'd be odd. So I think they'll come back. I think I'll see it. If we don't get anything this season, I think it'll be next year, almost like a twist where he ends up some location and he bumps into them and it's bad for them, right? Because obviously Maximus didn't try to kill him, but kind of turned on him. But I do like what happened in that scene, because I feel like there's not like with last year, it was very 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I feel like now Maximus is like cut off from Brotherhood. Like I don't think if we somehow get in season 3, he's back there and he's like in the squad again,
power armor suit.
Yeah, like if he joins up with them again, that'll be active points off for the show for me, because okay, it feels like this is a tie we've cut. Let's move forward from that and now keep them as enemies, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that was all my objectives here on this episode.
All right, I'll go through. Yeah, I did that. Let's see. Yeah, just again, I really liked Lucy B on the drugs. I think there's some fun moments there, fun acting. I will say too, when they did the shootouts with the Kings at first before some fighting, I think they've done this before, but that felt very much like the VAT system setup. Like it was like the first shot she did was she turned in slow motion, shot the leg off, and it blew off in a very like slow motion way. And there's a couple times in that moment, so I know they've done it before.
Headshot as well.
I know they've done it before, but I felt like they were overemphasizing because she was on the drugs, and she took the gun out and shot once, and she was like surprised. She's like so laser focused in because of the drugs. So I think that was like a good way to mask. Like, oh, we could get some extra slow mo out of this.
Felt very Army of the Dead too, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, and that which honestly, Bruce
She's
Campbell
in
would
that
be good.
movie, so it's a fun connection if it was intentional.
Oh no, sorry, you said Army of Dead. I thought you said Army of Darkness. I was
I
like,
almost said Army of Darkness. Funny enough,
when you
And
said
then I
she was
like,
in
oh,
that
yeah.
movie, I'm like, as what? Like a small, like 1-year-old or something like that. But that's something that I'd get Bruce Campbell in the show. He'd be perfect for this show.
Yeah,
To
I
play
mean,
a
he would have
weird.
been a good Mr. House. I feel
He
like.
would have been right. I was thinking about that, but clearly they probably want someone like I think age adjacent to Goggins, I guess. But yeah, get Campbell in here.
Get him in there.
And then yeah, do you have
Let
any
Sam
thoughts?
Raimi direct an episode as well. Like, come on.
Absolutely, that'd be
He
that'd
can
be
do the
some good
Death Claw
stuff.
episode. Oh, imagine that. Sam
All
Raimi's
the
in an
cuts.
episode, directs the
Yeah.
Death Claw episode. What's his name's in there? Bruce Campbell's in there.
Hmm He
That'd
can
so
be
good.
like Goggins' father or something like that,
Yeah.
and like, what was I gonna say here? I can't remember that. Maybe it'll come back to me. My last question, because I had it here, we talked about a little bit. I think I expressed my opinion. Do you have any caring about Stephanie and that vault stuff about the whole power struggle and the guy? What did the guy? I think I missed this. Why did he figure out when he pulled up her like passport? It said she was Canadian. Shout out to that. Why was it like? What was the big revelation about that? Was there? Did I miss something? It felt like they were
I
trying.
missed that too, I think, because I don't.
There's
even
like
know what you're
music
talking about.
stings and everything, and it felt like
I
there's
was
this
probably
big-
writing a note on my phone or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, these things aren't that interesting, so I apologize for that one. That I was trying to look. I
The
even rewound.
Canada thing, I get that is interesting because in the Fallout universe, Canada is annexed, but obviously if she is from the before times, right? She was woken up from a cryogenic tube, so she's from the before. So yeah, the experiment is over, whatever their experiment was, and so he's trying to figure out what's going on there. And yeah, I think the interesting part there, perhaps, which isn't really anything interesting yet, but it could be, is that she mentioned that like their experiment is over now, so now it's just like free for all, like however they want to
Yeah.
run it, they can do whatever they want to do. And obviously she's like pretty stingy with like the water and resources and all that. So I don't know what this is bubbling towards, and I'm not quite as intrigued as like. Because it's funny, the last season we had a big mystery around the vaults, but it was
Yes.
Norman going to figure out what's going on with Vault 31. And we get
Yeah.
there, and it is interesting, and I am liking that, even though we haven't got a lot of screen time of it. But now it's feel like they're trying to figure out, okay, like what's another mystery we could jam pack into all these vaults? And this one I'm not quite as intrigued by, even though I do like the main actor there, who's like the new Norm, like he's in Severance and stuff, and I forget what his name is, but I like that actor enough, but I'm not really. I don't really care much for any of the other characters left in these vaults. I liked Norman
No.
last season, but now I don't really have a lot of skin in the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of went like. It's just a tough situation, right? Because like I guess there must be in the Discord, anywhere, YouTube, wherever. Let us know if this is either of these vault storylines are really intriguing you. Let me know, because I just haven't met that person yet. But obviously, the world's big and there's millions of people watch the show, I imagine, right? So you have to be out there. Because if there's really not much people, I'd be down for them just doing like a shocking, like you start off season 3 and like that whole vault just gets like destroyed or something like that. And like, wow, we lost some characters we kind of knew a little bit. Lucy can learn that down the line, because I just like I don't know what we're getting from these.
Like it'd be more fun to go see a new vault, which we did get this season
Yeah.
already, right? In that I think it was in episode 1, right? But it was only like 10-minute sequence. It was already a destroyed vault, but I feel like that's
Yes.
more fun now for the viewer. Is like, okay, what other weird vaults are there out there, and what other experiments are they doing in them? Because that's kind of the premise of why these vaults are fun to find. Like they're dungeons that are fun to find in the games. So yeah, I think I'd be down to go that route. But yeah, that does seem a bit like a nuclear option, which I guess that's what Fallout's all about, the nuclear options.
Yeah, it'd be something crazy. But yeah, no, I think that's it. I am looking forward to next week, though, because I feel like, as I said, Maximus leading the Brotherhood with that artifact. These two at the Deathclaw getting close to Kyle MacLachlan. I feel like we're getting more near some of the some more juicy storylines, and we will see a result of those other two, and hopefully improve. So like that's where I am right now with the show. Is I am enjoying it. It's not like a struggle, luckily, to watch it, because there are fun moments. I think
Yeah,
overall
it's
it's
a
like a
fun
good
show, yeah.
vibe, but it's not. As I said before, not any of these episodes, even the Deathclaw. I'm like I'm excited to see it, but I'm not like, oh man, I can't wait, because I just don't know how that's gonna go. So I'm I don't know. I can't even say optimistic. I'm just curious how we go. I don't know how I feel about the show. I don't know. It's a questionable case, but I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it. I'll still say I'm enjoying it.
Since you kind of binged these 3 episodes back to back, do you feel like it's going to feel like really sluggish next week now that you're doing one episode a piece kind of thing?
TBD. The only reason I'll say no is because I feel like next week's going to be pretty not action packed, but at least like some juice going on. So I feel
Sure.
like it was more talkative. But yeah, no, because I guess I did go back to the Fallout way. So I will answer that question for you next week because I don't know because it's a separate conversation. But that's funny you brought that up because I was talking about Emily about this with a different show. I'm watching The Pit right now because I said I would catch up and watch season 2 with her. That's that show where it's like it's 19 episodes or something. I can't remember what it is, but it's like the whole show is just about this crew in ER and the emergency, the pit, and it's just like a day in the life. So it's like the first hour, or it's like 5 a.m. The next episode 6
Oh,
a.m.
it's like that
Yes.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah,
show.
Kiefer Sutherland, 24. So, but I'm watching it, and as a binge, I'm really enjoying it. But I said to Emma, I'm like, I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy this weekly, and so that's why that question you asked there, I enjoy this, but I wonder because I remember in our Discord, some people were not enjoying episode 2, where I watched as a whole. I actually didn't mind episode 2. I thought
Like
I
the
maybe.
trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe liked it a bit better than 1, but a lot of people I know, Mike and Kyle, were like, this isn't really my bag. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess watching the bin did definitely help. So I guess next week we'll see when we're back
It's,
to episode 5.
Fitting. The Pit is the name of one of the Fallout 76 DLCs, I think. So let's look at that connection. What is your name a reference to, by the way? The Abomination.
That's what they're calling the ghouls. Because
Okay.
both Kumail Nanjiani and the leader of the Brotherhood. The second, he's like,
They
they're
both
trying to
say
kill
Abomination.
kids.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like, kids. He's like, yeah, ghoul kids. He's like, no, those are ghouls. He's like, no, they're kids. Like, abominations, and he just gets the gun. So I guess they're just considered abominations. So, and I really had nothing else. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Done. And
That's it.
dusted.
Done. Vault or walk back into the wasteland until next week. So yeah, we'll be back next week. Now we'll be regularly scheduled until the show ends. Yeah, we threw a lot of questions, so the Discord is down below. Join that. If you click on it instead, always let us know because I think it's like every 30 days it refreshes. So we want to get people in there as much as possible and love the conversation. So until next week, we will be back, and it won't be